Hey friends, it's Kate from Venison for dinner here. It's one that's kind of rambly. You're going to hear me chatting with a bunch of B-roll in the back. And the reason I'm having this chatty video at you today is I wanted to talk about homesteading and balance in the rest of your life and how some people make homesteading an idol. And I come to this with the perspective that Marius and I have been homesteading in some capacity as long as we have been together. We grew up with kind of these values, but not to the extreme that we do it now. And I'm not even going to call what we do an extreme. We used to be more extreme and we have backed off. Because if you don't have balance in your life, then it's not really what the end goal is. What the end goal is going to be different for every family. For our family, the end goal, and it's not even end goal, it's that we enjoy the process, it's that we eat good food, and that we have the freedom to pursue other opportunities and interesting things we like to do, and our identity is not based on our homestead. So I'm going to run you through a few different sectors of our homestead and how we have found balance. So the first one is milk cows, and I love my milk cows, friends. I am obsessed with my milk cows. And this obsession led to a lack of balance. It led to us always having a cow producing lots of milk. So year round, we were milking twice a day, making cheese, making butter, all these things. This does not lead to a lot of balance in life when you need to be processing dairy every week, and sometimes every day, depending on how much milk you get. So now we have our cows calve in similar times so that they're both low in milk in similar times, and sometimes we don't milk at all because they're both dry and ready for calving. This has led to really awesome breaks because we feel that life is seasonal and we don't want to push our food production into a not seasonal model when life is seasonal. So just recently, 2 of our cows calved and we're in lots of milk and I've started making cheese. But I haven't made cheese since July and it's October 30th when I'm recording this. So this has meant that I have had a lovely break from making cheese and butter. We were milking 1 cow, but she only gave us a bit of milk, enough to keep us in drinking milk and yogurt. And I really love this, and my family really appreciates the seasonal break in dairying because dairying is not meant to be a year-round practice. And we also time having pigs so that we can have something to eat the whey and drink extra skim milk and all those sort of things for when you're overwhelmed. Pigs are an integral part to having milk cows. You can't convince me otherwise. And you know what? We can make enough butter and cheese in that 6 months that I'm making lots of things to keep us going the rest of the year. I still have plenty of butter and cheese left from last year's cheese making, and I'm excited to head into this year's cheese making and butter making after a break because that break is so important to my mental health. Now, the next area I want to talk to you about is gardening. Marius grew up gardening and I did not, although I don't think his dad did very much seed starting when he was younger. We started seed starting ourselves, and I will tell you that Marius went a little overboard this year because he was just so excited to get his hands in the dirt, and he knows that he needs to rein it in next spring and plant a few less peppers. Although the peppers bring him a lot of joy, he potted some up and brought them back into the house in this same little seed starting greenhouse, and every day he's puttering and looking and pretty excited about it. So it's his version of houseplants. When I started gardening seriously, meaning I had the intention to grow a lot of food for my family, I realized that I needed to use landscape cloth wherever possible. This really cuts down on the amount of weeding and watering I need to do, and those are the 2 most labor-intensive things. We really enjoy our greenhouse. It doesn't actually work very well, funny enough, but instead we grow things that we just enjoy growing in here. Instead of worrying about it being a big production thing, it's kind of just like a fun little putter space. You get to enjoy it, this beautiful sunshine, and it's, dry if it's wet out. Now, the next garden space we have is the kitchen garden, and I so enjoy the kitchen garden because it has all my herbs and lettuce and flowers, and it's just a really lovely space to step out of the house and into. I didn't used to enjoy gardening. I thought that I had to enjoy gardening for my own enjoyment, and I couldn't get into it. But once I turned around and saw gardening as an act of service for my family, and my love language is acts of service, I fell in love with gardening. So then Marius built me this kitchen garden, and the rest is history. Now, in our big garden, this was our celery experiment this year, and we know we need to change about a couple things. That's actually parsley, but I think it did pretty good. Anyhow, the next thing I wanted to say was that you need to focus on what grows well where you live and not worry about putting so much energy into the things that take babysitting to thrive where you live. If it takes a lot of babysitting to thrive where you live, you shouldn't be putting a lot of energy into that. You could put that same amount of energy into something that does grow well where you live and get so much more food. So we grow lots of potatoes, green beans, cabbages, broccoli, cauliflower, and snap peas. These things all do so good. Things that do good, but we are not good at growing where we live, are carrots, onions, and strawberries. Onions are hit and miss for us. Carrots we're not good at. Strawberries I can't grow to save my life. But we have found amazing local growers that we are happy to support, and we happily buy from them. Potatoes we grow epically. We haven't bought potatoes since 2019, and it's 2025 right now. So that's pretty fun. We also haven't bought dairy since then. We have been dairy, meat, and potato sufficient for 6 years. And we try not to hold that as a point of pride. It's not something that we're obsessed with, but it's something that our family does well, and every year we learn how to do it a bit better. And something that we want to do better, and we're leaning into the last couple of years, is growing more garlic because we love garlic and it does grow really well where we live. So we put a little more effort into learning how to do it better 2 years ago, and that effort paid off. This is the second year we're planting a nice big wide garden bed in our garden, and this is hundreds of garlic bulbs. And you might think, what are you doing with all that garlic? But friend, what aren't you doing with that much garlic? And many hands do make light work, and that can't be, don't underestimate the fact that if you just have a bunch of little kids, it's going to be a lot harder to get everything done. We have big kids and we have little kids, but the balance of it means that we are able to get lots of things done. We do value cooking from scratch. This is because we like to have control over the ingredients in our food, and we like to eat really good food. And really good food that has good ingredients costs a lot of money. And if we make it ourselves, it saves us a lot of money. So we find that making big batches and streamlined things wherever possible makes this all work. So one thing that we did this spring was we went camping, and we did this because we were in a farming spot where the garden was planted and the cows weren't in a lot of milk, and this was all planned, friends, so that we had opportunities to go away. And I cooked over the fire the whole time. There was no just feeding the kids cereal and milk. I had so much fun cooking over the fire. I love food. I love cooking. I really do love cooking and baking. And I so enjoyed these opportunities to be outside and making food for my family. And it just really filled my cup. And they were fishing most of the time. And we just had the loveliest time camping and enjoying being off the farm. Now, here is a summer meal: broccoli salad from the garden, fresh dug potatoes, venison steaks. This is what we live for, these simple, nutrient-dense, wholesome meals that everybody is excited to eat. Now, food preservation is a whole other ball of wax. I've always really enjoyed canning, and so does Marius. He grew up canning, I grew up canning. Canning is not gender specific in our house. Everybody does it, and everybody's involved. I'm usually running the canners because I'm the most proficient at it, but everybody's helping me fill jars and do all the things. And once I overheard my kids' friends say, "Oh yeah, we couldn't get to the lake earlier because my mom was canning jam." And my older boys were like, "Why weren't you canning jam with her? Why weren't you helping?" Like they just couldn't believe that their mom was canning jam and they weren't helping can jam, because in our house, everybody's working on it. Now, another thing we love to play around with is honeybees. And this is extracting honey with some friends of ours. Yes, we need to have a better extracting situation, but this is entertaining. This is entertaining. And bees are still something we're figuring out, but it's part of the like delight and experimenting and interesting part of homesteading. It's not a daily chore, and we love what we get from it. So Marius has kind of taken on honeybees as his thing, and I look forward to seeing where he goes with that. Now, Marius grew up drying herbs like this. We live in a dry climate, and he didn't use a dehydrator. They just put herbs in cardboard flats. And in our climate, it works really well. We do have a dehydrator, but we can do so many like this, and it's such a passive way. We just have these stacked and drying, and we pick things from the garden and outside, and it really adds to our enjoyment in our winter tea. So I just hope you enjoyed this today, this little rambly video. It was kind of on my mind earlier, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to find a bunch of B-roll, and I'm going to have a rambly little podcast-style YouTube video. But friends, don't ask me to do a podcast. Please don't. Please don't. But just remember that we can enjoy doing all these things, but they are not our identity. They are here to make our life better. They are not here to control our life. So friends, if your homestead is controlling you, maybe you need to do some rethinking on what you're doing and how you might be able to make it serve you instead of you serve it. Because I serve our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I don't serve my homestead. So friends, have the best day.